Shit, I haven't uploaded in a year, have I? A long break wasn't intended originally. I have majority of my SWSH footage for the DLC. I recorded a lot of BDSP. Originally it was just going to be a DLC video immediately after the original, but I was burned out from making that hour-long fucking thing. And I was just like, you know, I'm gonna wait on Pokemon Day, see where the series goes from here. And then 2 games were announced, and I was like, you know, okay, I kind of feel like I need to approximate where the direction the franchise is going. One thing led to another, real life shit happened, and yeah, I still haven't made much progress on editing the DLC. And originally it was going to include Legends in itself, but I'm thinking now I'm going to, like, split off everything between SWSH and Legends coming out into its own video, and then just have a Legends review similar to how exactly I did the SWSH video, because the thing is, SWSH was easy to make an outline for and kind of talk about, because it's the most by-the-numbers Pokemon game, and I could use the gyms as a stopping point to talk about my problems with it, right? However, with this, there's a lot of new structure added, and, well, too, I kind of played it a bit blind. I saw the leaks, of course, but, I don't know, I kind of didn't record my original run-through. I'm in the post-game now, and I kind of just want to enjoy it, and then make my overly analytical fucking hour-long video maybe like a year or 2 from now. Also to see how exactly Legends influences the series, what it takes, and everything. But, yeah, don't worry, I think I will try to upload at least shorter content that, about shit I just have, maybe in, like, my Steam catalog. Mostly because I just like talking about weird shit. I do not want to be a Pokettuber. It seems a lot of Poketubers get involved in drama of outside communities, and, like, no offense to people that make Pokemon videos, like, I'm not shitting on you, it's just, I want to stay far as fuck away from that shit. I just kind of make my own little corner of, like, 8 people that watch me, I guess, is a good way of putting it, and, like, grow it out from there. And I have a lot of ideas, it's just kind of a matter of sitting down and prepping it. So, yeah, that's the channel update. Now let's talk about the game that came out. I guess the best place to start would be the pre-release. And I'm not talking about, like, the trailer. I mean, a couple hours before the trailer came out. Before the Pokemon Day thing, there was these slides, I think used for promotional material, that were circulating on various image boards. It was talking about how they would change the game to add action elements, and were changing the turn-based combat structure, and, at the time, I was very much like, oh, this could go places, but I'm a bit worried. And then you had the actual trailer itself, which was running very poorly, I guess. The level of detail was a bit bad for the Pokemon. Some of them were, like, running at 12 FPS. And I was like, oh, this is gonna be weird. And it was touted as a weird, open-ish game, and after seeing Game Freak's more recent route design, I was very paranoid about this. In fact, at the time, I thought BDSP would probably be better, since it was just, hey, let's do Diamond and Pearl, add the Platinum content, make it mostly faithful, and presto, you got a very safe, but easy-to-access version of Gen 4. And I find it immensely funny that my opinions on these 2 games, as I learned more and more about them, have flipped 180 to where Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl fumbled the ball so hard, but Legends Arceus, you know, it has its problems, I feel, and we'll get into that as I talk about my impressions. But I really, really like it, and it has a lot of cool shit going for it. And another thing that'll probably be lost to time is there was a single leaker that got the game a lot earlier than others, and he was just a complete idiot. He was posting screenshots under his real Facebook. I think he connected his Switch online while playing the game. So, guy's probably buried at a ditch by Nintendo or something. I don't know, rest in peace, that guy. But then someone else had a copy. There was, like, weird leaker drama that's, like, neither here nor there again. And as soon as the ROMs dumped and people were talking about the game like IRL and stuff, like, I think there was a massive push. Because this game didn't have too much marketing, I feel, before the leaks. And it was very strange that they were kind of just pushing it out on January. I don't think it was sent out to die in January, like a lot of people think it was. What I think happened was they just noticed that Animal Crossing sold like gangbusters because there is nothing else coming out in like Q1 2022. Or I guess some people call this Q4 2021. I don't know. Point is, it wouldn't have much to really be compared to, so you just push this out and have it be a relatively safe release. The only other thing to come out around this time that was really notable was Elden Ring, and those were pretty spread out from each other. So it's not like, oh, Pokemon versus Elden Ring or whatever. Plus, Elden Ring's not even on Switch, so it's not like they're competing with each other directly in that way. So the game comes out, I buy it, and somehow it's the best Pokemon game since the DS era, in my opinion. Just as soon as I give up hope in the franchise, they pull me back in. And a part of it is, it captures so much of what I love about Sinnoh so well. Of course, they wouldn't think about it when I was, like, a little kid playing fucking Platinum as my first RPG, but what draws me back to Sinnoh as a region is two things. The sense of mysticism, and I guess scale is the best word for the second thing. For the first one, I feel Sinnoh as a region embodies the sense of mystery. I think Masuda himself even said that's what the region's name means. Mystery. It has one of the highest legendary and mythical counts for a reason. Places like the lakes or the old chateau felt like there was a history with them and things to discover. The second part, scale. If you look at art of Gen 4, Mount Coronet is very much a centerpiece of Sinnoh. It was always looming over, and you could see it from a lot of places. Again, you can't really depict this in a DS game, but with you going through it multiple times in the originals, Mount Coronet did feel like the glue that held the region together. The point of origin where majority of Sinnoh grew up from. And for a lot of the faults that PLA's environmental design has, for me anyway, it captures that aspect of interconnectedness from the originals. That doesn't mean it loads well, though. Pop-In is atrocious. Grass will literally form right in front of your eyes. Then again, with Swish, it was the Pokemon, and you could get into encounters that way. So I prefer this sort of Pop-In compared to going on a bike and just running into a Pokemon. But again, I just wish that both could load smoothly. It's not as noticeable as the trailer. However, yeah, the Pokemon still run at pretty low FPSs if you're far away, especially flying ones like Crobat or Staraptor. Shit can get bad. Majority of the game runs smoothly though. I didn't notice that many frame dips while playing, but you're just gonna see some janky fucking shit. It also seems they put a lot of effort on redoing the Pokemon models like they promised for Swish, to the point where the humans and other sorts of models that aren't Pokemon don't look as good. Some people don't really like how the Pokemon are filtered in this game, but I see what they were going for. If you look at old Japanese artworks and like artwork for this game, it's very much trying to emulate that sort of Okami feeling. It's not perfect, but unlike Swish, I sense an art style and I at least have to appreciate that. That probably comes off a bit condescending, but I don't know, I just really like when a game attempts this sort of stuff. Legends Arceus at times also feels like the anti-Sword and Shield. It's weird that they're both in the same generation and provides such a contrast. A lot of Swish's quality of life changes, for example, were very much geared for competitive. Think of the mints, or move relearners not costing anything, etc., etc. And new features like the max raids are very much geared for multiplayer, and the strength of those Pokemon you can get from the max raid can easily get max IVs and EVs, all that sort of shit. Whereas with Legends, a lot of its improvements are single-player focused. Like, if you compare the menuing in this game, it is lightning fast. The box menu, oh my god, the box menu is finally not a chore to navigate. And if Box Anywhere from Let's Go Pikachu onward was in this, I would actually consider using it. It finally feels like switching Pokemon isn't a fucking chore, and I hope a lot of the menuing, at least, is carried on to the next game. And it also focuses a lot on trying to make the Pokemon feel like they're in a living environment. Another thing that... this is the funny thing. A lot of the shit I said in my video is somewhat addressed in this game. For this impressions video, I went back and watched the original Swarbage review I put out. Mostly didn't look at it because I remember all the work that went into it, and it was just exhausting to kind of think about. But they addressed a lot of what I brought up. For example, the wild encounter system. Not only being able to have the Pokemon attack you, but sneaking around and throwing your Pokemon at it really makes you pay attention to the spaces and how far a Pokemon is from you, right? And it makes it much more alive and makes the overworld encounters not feel like an afterthought, right? Like, you have to be on your toes and see what's following and roaming around over on Obsidian Fairfields, for example. And that's not even getting into how you can distract Pokemon with berries and stuff. Again, they feel much more alive, and the Pokemon in the overworld just feels much more natural. And again, the smooth transition from overworld to battle also makes the game feel much more connected. And if we're talking about seamless transitions, I think being able to take your Pokemon out of the balls and kind of talk to it, or throwing a Pokemon to get materials, is the best friendship mechanic they've ever had since they tried to focus on that aspect since X and Y, right? It doesn't feel like the battling, the overworld, and connecting with your Pokemon are separate things just because it all happens at one area and there's no transitions between them. And then you have the tutorialing, which feels very brisk by Pokemon standards. I know a lot of reviewers have said this game starts out slow. On one hand, I can see what they mean, but comparing this to Sun and Moon and Sword and Shield, it feels like you're going light speed. I guess that's more of a knock against those games than it is a plus for this, but it just felt like, yeah, it's a normal JRPG. And also the new mechanics at least made the tutorials understandable in terms of like throwing Pokeballs and shit. And unlike previous games where the story feels like it says a lot and doesn't have much, I think this was a decently balanced story. It's not like great shakes or anything, but at the same time, it's not like it feels... The characters felt like they were at least explored decently, and not like they said a bunch of shit and are just boring. And again, in Swish, where characters like Hop or Marnie felt like they outstayed their welcome, but had very little to say. And I guess part of that might be due to messing around in the overworld might make things be better paced. But I don't know, I just felt like it was a crop above majority of 3D Pokemon storytelling. I thought the music was fantastic. I'd say it's Go Ichinose's best work. I liked a lot of his work on Sun and Moon back on the 3DS. And I did not care for a lot of his base game Sword and Shield tracks, but this he hit it out of the park, I feel. Especially one of the final songs, which is basically Pokemon does Eurobeat. It goes full initial D, and the fact it works so well is an accomplishment. I was worried at first they would go with the Breath of the Wild style piano stuff, but the tracks are very, I guess, varied than the trailers would lead you to believe. A lot of old Sinnoh remixes, though, obviously, since, it is functionally the Sinnoh remake, aside from BDSP. I also really like a lot of new Pokemon designs. I know they're a bit divisive, but stuff like Windeer really brought me back to those Gen 4 vibes of cross-gen Evos that I've missed. The last one was Sylveon in Gen 6, and I really like giving under-leveled Mons like that new evolutions. It, I feel, adds to the connectedness of this franchise to do it. And there's some new forms, too, that are pretty cool. I like Zorua and Zoroark, too. The normal ghost typing really is kind of an interesting combo for them. One thing I was not expecting was the return of Ride Pokemon. Usually, whenever Game Freak introduces a feature like this, they throw it out as soon as it's gone. It's never coming back. And I guess the sneaking in this game does feel like a bit of an extension of Dex Nav from Orez. But I thought Ride Pokemon were fucking gone. Like, oh, it's just going to be an Alola thing. It's never going to show up again, despite it having so much potential. And no, in this game, it shows up. And the destroying rocks thing didn't really... Actually, no, you can just throw Pokemon to destroy rocks, which gets into another thing, but the whole climbing a mountain thing, I guess, technically Mudsdale did that in Sun and Moon, but you have your climbing. You can climb like you're playing Skyrim a bit. And, again, it just allows you to wall off parts of areas and want to return to them to find newer Pokemon or other things that are hidden there, like items. And it's just much more intricately designed. All these 5 areas are much more intricately designed than the wild area, I feel. And each area has its own unique theme. I know, like, oh, it's a coastal area, it's a snow area, but compared to the wild area's approach of shoving it all in one, like, place, I got very distinct vibes and kind of realized what each area was going for, and it all kind of clicked mentally. Another minor thing, very minor, that I brought up in the video that I thought was a bit funny was I brought how the Ycom felt very clustered. Like, the notifications were clustered and you couldn't turn them off. In this game, you can just click in the right stick and the UI disappears. The most minor of shit problems I had with Sword and Shield, and it's addressed here. Like, that was just immensely funny to me. And speaking of the Ycom, I guess we can get into a bit of what this game is lacking, because, for example, this does not have a proper online mode. It has trading, and it has the merit system, where you kind of find people's lost items. But other than that, there's not too much online shit in here, and I could see some people kind of have a problem with that, because Pokemon's had it since Gen 1, in terms of battling, right? I just didn't ever really care for the PvP aspects of Pokemon, at least past a certain point. Also, despite their detailed customization options, your trainer card stays pretty static, which I find weird because there's an entire photo booth section you can mess around with in-game. Though part of the reason, I guess, the lack of online features or stuff like trainer cards is the battle system's entirely changed. It's more, people describe it like Final Fantasy X, I guess you could say, where you can take multiple turns depending on how moves are, or your Pokemon's speed stat. And that's kind of a shame, I guess, because it sounds like such a shit show. I would love to see how this would be used in, like, tournaments and shit. Not obviously as mainline VGC, but I'd love to see a little sideshow with this system, because it would be funny. And so obviously broken, especially if somehow they added held items and abilities to this, because those have also been cut. Like, even if they incorporate everything else, I think the battle system is going to stay Legends exclusive in future entries. But just the amount of bullshit they can have with this system makes me laugh. And I hope it's not the last time we see of it, even if it's not a VGC competitive. Though, speaking of battles, I found this game to be harder than average. Now, part of that might be because I was a brainlet and didn't use that many revives in the game. I kind of forgot about revives being a thing and just would randomly stumble into, like, Alpha Pokemon or in-trainer battles. But even then, it felt like the AI was smarter than usual. And they also did shit like, sometimes they will send out 2 Pokemon and it would be a 2v1, or other bullshit in post-game. And I really did like it. It was really fun. Like, some people might say, oh, this is fucking terrible, but I found it legitimately entertaining just to kind of see, like, the amount of stuff I could get into, and to actually overcome it. It just felt very rewarding in this case. And another surprising thing that was lacking in this game was the caves and overworlds aren't really that designed. They aren't that intricate. I think there is one dungeon, and that is Snow Point. And Snow Point feels like a tutorial area. But I would just wish there was more of that in the game, and some of the post-game stuff in terms of how you find legendaries felt like the best legendary hunt since they introduced it in Black and White 2, I guess. Like, Oraz just had Hoopa, like, drop rings and shit. But this, it felt like you were uncovering stuff, I guess, this time around. And it wasn't just like, oh, we're plopping this Pokemon here. Like, no, you had to work for some of them. And one of the Manaphy's I fucking love. It's devilish, but I fucking love that you... the way they... a bit of a spoiler, but I love the way you have to use a book from a separate game to find him. That is the most fucking hilarious thing. I find it immensely funny. and I hope they do more shit in the future with that. Or, I don't know, maybe you have to, like, some Star Tropics tier shit, where you have to print out a letter and, like, dip it in water. I'd love more cryptic shit like that, because it would be funny. I don't know, it somewhat does feel, especially because of the stuff with Mount Coronet, like they are deathly afraid of making shit too challenging. And I don't know, I think people can handle it, especially because HMs are gone and replaced by Ride Pokemon in this game. Or just used as apps in the case of Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl. Another thing that is missing is the complete annihilation of a Pokemon League, a system similar to it. It's not like Sun and Moon, where, you know, trials are very similar and it just gets you to the league anyway. It's very different, and I do wish there was a bit more gym puzzle-like stuff in this game, but at the same time it's very refreshing to not just go for the same motions. Nobles are a bit of a idea that I see where they were coming from, with, on one hand you have like the action-based throwing bombs stuff, but you also throw your Pokemon in. It's supposed to show like you and your Pokemon's bonds, that you both have to like help out to take down this big threat, right? I don't think it's too well, especially since like you don't even get the ability to send out your Pokemon in the last one, I think. I think they will return to more traditional turn-based boss battles in the future, but I really do wish that they expanded on that concept, because it does still feel like missed potential. It also seems development-wise, more dev time has been given to the team compared to Sword and Shield or Let's Go for this one, and part of that was due to outsourcing Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl as that year's, 2021's Christmas game, right? And another thing is, it seems like Game Freak are kind of realizing that the yearly grind isn't healthy, I think, for them, because if you want to do that and stuff like Little Town Hero, it just puts you in perpetual crunch mode. And in addition, they have increased the amount of modelers for this game in the credits. So it does seem like the criticisms of Swish were listened to and addressed in some ways, and I find that very fascinating, because I think if the backlash to Switch didn't happen, what we would be seeing is like Gen 8 DP remakes, which would just be, you know how Oraz was just, oh, it's X and Y, but with Hoenn. It would just be Swish, but with Sinnoh, and probably just new forms of Dialga and Palkia, but it does feel like they took a lot of the feedback from Swish to heart, and they're trying. They're still not technically competent as much as other developers, right? But it does feel very much like its own thing. I know a lot of people are comparing this to Breath of the Wild or Monster Hunter, or like I felt a little bit of Yakuza in this too, but it doesn't feel quite like it's just cribbing those. It feels like its own unique thing to me, very much. And personally, I think if Gen 9 combines this with a lot of Gen 8's online features, like that would be perfect. That'd be such a good game. I'm just glad they didn't fuck up Sinnoh, so I'm not going to be hoping for Gen 9. But I am very happy with this, and I think they did a lot of good things in terms of just trying to make it not just feel like, oh, it's Breath of the Wild. Like, there's aspects of that, of course, there's crafting, all that sort of stuff. But I do think it really comes into its own in a certain way. Another thing I guess you could say I find funny is directly comparing this to Swish and their priorities, because Galar and Sinnoh have very similar themes in terms of ties to Legends and Legacy, but both of their games could not be more fucking different in Gen 8. In terms of Legends compared to Sword and Shield, they're very different, have different design philosophies. And again, as I brought up with X and Y, usually the remakes are very similar to the gens that they are accompanied by. Like, Ruby and Sapphire is very similar to Fire Red, right? But in this case, there's such direct contrast and prioritize different things. It's just a fascinating comparison, and it makes, again, wonder if they're going to combine both of these for the next game. Fun fact, this video was supposed to come out a while ago, having a whole section titled Future, which was just going to talk about my thoughts on rumors at the time and the future and the trajectory of the franchise. But then the Presents was announced, and I was like, I'm going to sit and see what happens. And I've got a lot to say. So I'm going to skip over most of the mobile spin-off shit, because the only one of those I've tried is Pokemon Unite, and I think it just caused me immense pain. I tried Go way back in the day, and it's like fine, but it's like Pokemon Go, and it's just an Alola update, so not much to talk about. But starting out, BDSP. BDSP got shafted really hard. It's not even getting home support. The Global Wonder Trade Station's not up. They're just like leaving the game to dead. Rip BDSP, bros. At least I'm able to get Shaman. That's pretty good. So then Legends update. I was hoping for like paid DLC just because I wanted to know what the deal with Sinjo was. It's still been a mystery ever since Heart Gold Soul Silver, but for what we got, it's pretty okay. You know, reused asset missions and a battle facility. I mean, since this is basically the Sinnoh remakes, because again, leaving BDSP out in the cold like it never existed. I guess I shouldn't have expected that much expansion content, as most FERD versions really kind of died, like, you know, or Raz, or Heart Gold Soul Silver, and again, I'm more satisfied with this game than I was Sword and Shield. I just wish we could get just a bit more. And in a way we are with the whole Hisuian web series, which is probably just going to be like how Twilight Wings was for Gen 8, you know, Swish proper. And that's kind of weird to me, because Twilight Wings was made still when Sword and Shield were current, I think, when it was still getting DLC. But with this, we're getting probably another free update, I assume, like one more, because you don't leave an update like this unless you're going to probably pump one more out. And I assume that's it. Maybe some home compatibility. But they're just doing a full-on series, which I think says that Hisui as a setting anyway might have outperformed their expectations in a lot of ways. And I just hope this means we get like more Legends games rather than remakes, because the remakes have had this problem since Oraz of feeling like they on one hand want to be too close to the original game, but on the other hand want to do their own new thing. And if you just made a game that does its own new thing with that old setting, I think it's a much better idea to revisit regions like this. Now let's move on to the thing I thought wouldn't happen this year, Gen 9. Personally, I really do hope they slow down with the releases, just because with this, it's happened before with Emerald and Fire Red Leaf Green, right? But I do worry about if this becomes like a biannual franchise, especially because of the whole thing with Ilka. Like, they release traditional Pokemon games and then this new generation stuff, or this and like Legends like twice a year, and Gens suddenly last shorter amount of time and have lower dev time for them to really focus, right? I don't think that'll happen. In a lot of ways, though, looking at the trailer, whereas Let's Go and Sword and Shield felt like they were developed in isolation from each other, this looks like it was developed simultaneously with Legends, right? Stuff like, and I know it's a very common thing in video games to lower the FPS with draw distance, but it very much feels like they're using a similar sort of thing that they did with PLA than Let's Go or Sword and Shield. It looks like this game's going to be directed by Shigeru Omori, the guy who made Oraz, Sun and Moon, and base Sword and Shield. And I do not care for any of the games he's developed so far, especially in Sword and Shield base game. Like his stories, because people say, oh, why do you care about Pokemon for the story? Well, Omori puts a fucking massive focus on his stories and like, presentation and shit, and they're always ass. X and Y felt like it had a lot of underdeveloped potential, but with Sword and Shield and Sun and Moon, again, they have good concepts, but the amount of time spent on a particular concept feels wasted. I hope it carries a lot over from Legends, because I feel Legends has at least a good gameplay loop to carry it. Stuff like, say, how Legends handles overworld encounters, for example. Like, you don't even need to throw the balls again. Even if you let me press A near an enemy to, like, attack first, that's something, because it at least keeps me engaged in the world, rather than just, oh, I ran into a Pokemon, I'll just fucking run away. Where there feels like this deliberate disconnect. And from what we've seen, battles also take place seamlessly in the overworld, so I don't think the traditional, like, walking into an enemy thing would work out well. My cope/hope is at least they carry that system in. I don't even need a lot of the stuff Legends brought back, but just bring in the ability to throw your fucking Pokemon out, or be able to preemptively strike your Pokemon. It would be cool. And a lot of the like environmental stuff does look a lot like Legends, just in a modern setting. I mean, we don't really know too much. It's Probably gonna have online battling, so the battling system from Legends is scrapped. We'll probably know more around E3, right? So we will see. But yeah, after the announcement of Gen 9 and Legends, I feel optimistic about the future of the franchise. I think what will happen is you'll see some of Legends' features carry over into Gen 9, but not all of them, because again, worked simultaneously. Even if they shared notes, they probably couldn't have copied everything over. I think eventually you'll see kind of a homogenization of the two franchises, though I could see Legends be the more action-focused one, and practically replacing the generational rehashes, and not really being focused on multiplayer battling, and more so being about, again, the single-player aspect. And then you'll get, as a pair, also the shitty Ilka remakes that are just DS or 3DS games. Gen 9 will be an open-world game, apparently. When it comes to open-world Pokemon, it's a very lucrative proposition, but when you're dealing with a game studio that has not had that much experience with open-world, like even Legends isn't open-world, it's divided to areas like Monster Hunter, that is a risky proposition. So I guess we'll see what happens with it. I also really like the new designs for the starters, and like, keep in mind, I hated all fucking Gen 8 mobs. I don't like them. Not all the Gen 8 ones, just the Galar ones. I don't know what it is about Galar, just even from the reveal, none of them grabbed me. But I like all these new guys. I think they're adorable. I hope that this can be a game that kind of at least starts the line of both of these takes on Pokemon merging. But yeah, I guess we'll see, because, again, presumably, if no other announcement happens, this will only be the first reveal. So I don't have much to fucking go off of. All I know is the channel will probably get videos eventually. Real life's a bit... I'm doing a lot right now, so I might do like an impressions video or a review of Gen 9. I don't have interest in covering it to the same degree as Swish. Because, again, I've already said everything I've had a problem with Pokemon since the 3DS era. And this might be a new sort of thing, with its entirely own problems and benefits, all that sort of shit. I just kind of feel like I let it all out. I have more interesting things to say about Gen 8 that I want to let out before it really feels conclusive to me, but I really don't want to be strictly a Pokatuber. If something else interesting happens for the reveals for Gen 9, I'll talk about it, but I don't want to just pump out Pokemon videos to pump out Pokemon videos. Or videos in general. I want to have that spark of inspiration. Hello and welcome to End Slate, where I rip off Rory from Y2K in terms of the way he ends videos. No, but in all seriousness, I want to throw in this little part because I had something that didn't really fit in. I actually wrote physical notes when I was rewatching the video, like I said earlier, and there was some weird shit I said that was prophetic or music choices, and I just wanted to go on about that a little bit in the end, because it didn't really fit into the impressions thing. So to start out, there was a point at which I mentioned Activision, and it called them Video Game Satan, and then said, oh, Konami and EA are much worse, and I was wrong on that. You have to keep in mind, that was before the whole thing came out, you know. Konami still might be on par, because if you look into Konami, they were, like, doing weird 1984 shit, where they were, like, looking over their employees' backs with cameras, and, like, it was some fucking Metal Gear shit, unironically, to Kojima's staff, which was ironic. But no, I have to apologize to EA, you know, you didn't have whatever the fuck happened there. You guys just make shitty Sims games. I can give you that. Another thing was, I used Mother 4 music, I think, in the intro, and throughout the review I did use Mother 4 music, and that game leaked, I think, twice since this year or last year. Looks like a fucking dumpster fire. Shit. What the fuck happened, Mother 4? What the shit? We didn't hear shit for it for a year, but we have some stuff from, like, combat scenarios and, like, other things, and basically a debug ROM. And I think we also have now, like, a full-on development history of what the fuck the game was planned to be, right? So, again, I found that weird. Famicom Detective Club getting an English release also kind of surprised me a bit. I thought they would not translate that shit because no one knows what the fuck Famicom Detective Club was, so kind of seeing it, right, was fascinating, just because I thought they'd leave that in Japan. I haven't bought it yet. I really should, because I want to see Nintendo bring weird shit over. And speaking of visual novels that have come out since that video, with the whole weird Ace Attorney skit that I did, great Ace Attorney's out. Not Investigations 2, though, which is the music I used in that. So, fingers crossed, man. Fingers fucking crossed. And then finally, Looker. Looker's just begun! I think he showed up in, like, Masters, but that's like a Gen 7 spin-off, right? So, Looker's been not even in remakes of the generation he debuted in? Like, okay, I can understand BDSP, whatever, fuck, because he wasn't in Diamond and Pearl, right? Okay, Faithful remake, blah, blah, blah. But not even in... not even in Legends. Like, you didn't have him be, like, a faller. You had whatever the fuck happened. And you don't even have, like, a Looker ancestor. So we can't even hear, like, ancient Japanese Looker theme remix, which would be Kino, and you know it. So that's part of the reason I think there might be DLC for this shit, just because they excluded one of the more iconic aspects of him. Even Charon has fucking ancestors in this crap hole. Like, even Charon's here. Like, everything from Platinum is actually here, except for fucking Looker, so I expect DLC just to correct that wrong somehow. And maybe, like, something Palmer, I don't know. So I guess if whatever I say in this video might be predictive, so, within this and my next upload, I guess we will have a mother-free remake announced, or a translation or some shit, and it will be worse than the fan translation, guaranteed. And maybe something else sort of crazy, like, I don't know, massive scandal involving some Pokemon shit, I don't fucking know. Some offhand comment I've said in this video might be predictive, and it's gonna be fucking weird looking back. Ugh. Jesus. Anyway, it's been fun. Glad to be back. Post Gen 9 announcement Rid's here. And, since I recorded that part of the end slate, a lot's happened. Live Alive got an English translation. Klonoa came back from the dead for a remake. Mother 1 and 2 came out on the Virtual Console. What else? Oh, Xenoblade Free. A ton of weird shit in that direct that got announced. So, I don't know. Again, I'll probably edit this fucking over the weekend, because this has been a couple weeks in the making. And again, take care and stay safe. I'll be back whenever.